Welcome to another session of microengineering. In today's lecture, we will be dealing with resonators and free entrant cavities. To start with, what is a resonator? Resonator means a condition in which we are going to take the third dimension. When I'm talking about third dimension, I mean to say the distance d. The distance d, normally we take this as along the z direction where the wave is propagating. We assume that the wave is propagating along the z direction along the dimension d. I hope remember rectangular waveguide we used to have length A, we used to have length A. This was your y dimension, the breadth, and this is the distance d along which the wave is propagating. How is the wave propagating along this direction? Please note the wave is propagating in this way. So when the wave is propagating along this direction, it will be always integer multiples of lambda g by 2. I hope you get this point. This is what one wave is how much? Total wave is always lambda. Total wave is lambda. So half of this will be always lambda by 2. Lambda by 2. So resonance is a condition in which the wave which is propagating in one direction and the wave which is returning in another direction, a maximum point will come when both the standing waves will be having a constructive interference with each other. So that condition is going to be a resonance. To find the resonant frequency, which we are going to designate it as F naught, because cutoff frequency we have taken as Fc. I hope you remember rectangular waveguide formula for Fc was Fc is equal to c by 2 square root of m by a the whole square plus n by b the whole square. To start with the resonance condition, we are going to take distance d, let it be integer multiples of lambda g by 2. I hope you know why we are taking lambda g by 2. So lambda g becomes equal to 2d by p. The guided phase shift constant is equal to 2 pi by lambda g is equal to 2 pi upon 2d by p. In this 2 gets cancelled, so what does beta g becomes equal to? P times of p by d, which is a very important derivation. We are going to use it. So if you note over here, you used to have in rectangular waveguide, capital A is equal to m pi by a. Similarly, capital B used to be n pi by b. Same way, now beta g has come out to be as p pi by d. How do we find the resonant frequency? Same way, we know that wave number, that is wave number h square is equal to gamma square plus omega square epsilon. We are taking alpha to be equal to 0, but this time not to my cutoff frequency but resonant frequency. So it I have designated as omega naught. Omega naught square mu epsilon is equal to h square minus gamma square. Assuming alpha to be 0, gamma becomes equal to j beta. When I am taking the value of omega naught, to find the value of omega naught, I am getting this as 1 upon square root 1 upon of mu epsilon square bracket open h square plus p square pi by d. Now when I am solving this equation, you know that h square is equal to a square plus b square, m pi by a the whole square plus m pi by b the whole square. Omega naught is equal to 1 upon mu epsilon m pi by a the whole square plus n pi by b the whole square plus p pi by d. From where did I get this equation? Instead of having this beta g, we have just substituted this beta g. We have just substituted this as p pi by d, which we have seen in last slide. And this h square we already know this is equal to m pi by a. This we have substituted. From this equation, you got the value of omega naught to be pi upon square root of mu epsilon square root of m pi by a the whole square plus n pi by b the whole square plus p pi by d the whole square. So what is omega naught? It is 2 pi f naught. So pi 2 will get cancelled. What do you think of the equation of f naught is going to come out to be? It will be c by 2. You can see over here. It will be c by 2. Can you see over here? C by 2 square root of m by a the whole square plus n by b the whole square plus p by d the whole square. The difference between cutoff and resonant frequency is, in cutoff frequency we never discuss about the distance d, whereas in resonant distance d becomes a very important criteria. So what is the importance of dimensions? You can say distance d always helps us to find out the resonant frequency of a waveguide. Please note, for resonating frequency, dominant mode is TE101. For TM mode, it is TM111. Now, for a circular waveguide, same way you can find it out. But I hope you remember, for circular waveguide, we had the condition as TE11. So it will be TE111 and TM101 mode. And accordingly, this formula of K dash, why is it? Because h square is equal to gamma square plus omega square mu epsilon. They have found out the formula of f naught square. So when you find out the equation for this, what difference will you observe is that this k dash, why it is marked as this K value will change because for TE, this value will be what? 1.841, and for TM, it is going to be 2.405. I hope you remember circular waveguide. Those who have not gone through the slides, please go through the slides and then come and do this derivation. Now, to find out the wave equation for cavity resonator, suppose it is asked in paper for 10 marks, we start in this way. For TM mode, Xz equal to 0, we all know that Ez exists. So, the rectangular waveguide Ez equation becomes C naught sin m pi by A into X sin n pi by B into Y e raised to minus j beta z. Don't get confused. It is the same waveguide equation which is propagating in z direction. The propagating wave is designated by a plus sign, which is always written as e raised to minus j beta z. I hope you remember. We always write a wave equation in terms of e raised to minus j beta z. Please, writing minus is always, we assume that the wave is decreases in amplitude when we are moving towards the load side. So we write it as e raised to minus. Similarly, Ez minus means reflected wave. Ez minus means reflected. Same equation in terms of e raised to j beta g z plus j beta g z. When I am taking summation of both the waves, it becomes Ez is equal to, the common things in this is sine m pi by A into X and sine n pi by B into Y. This quantity can come out. Remaining thing comes in the center. Yes, when I am taking the boundary condition, I am taking normal component of electric field as continuous. Normal component means take the derivative. So partial differentiation is done. When I am taking partial differentiation with respect to Z, what happens? This is minus j beta g will come here, j beta g will come. Rest all terms remains like that. So these terms come out, and these into this equal to 0. So in this, what will happen? The wave cannot be equal to 0. Same phenomena. Wave cannot be equal to 0. Then the constants has to be 0. When you're taking constant to be 0, minus C naught plus C naught dash becomes equal to 0. So from this, C naught becomes equal to C naught dash. As a result, when I'm substituting, both become same. So this two have become same. So what happens? C naught comes out. So this becomes e raised to minus j beta g z plus e raised to j beta g z. So when I'm dividing and multiplying it by 2, it becomes a cost factor. So on solving, I get the equation as C naught sin m pi by A into X sin n pi by B into Y into my main hero is this 2 cos beta gz. Till now, we have not applied the equation of z equal to 0 is been applied. We have not applied z equal to d condition. Remember a boundary condition at x equal to 0, x equal to a, y equal to 0, y equal to b. So z equal to 0, z equal to d. On applying, again a normal component, so I am taking derivative. This cos component will give me a sine. When will this sine component be equal to 0? When it is integer multiples of pi. So when it is integer multiple of pi, you can see over here, when it is integer multiple of pi, what happens? P into pi by d. On substituting, I get my final equation as Ez is equal to 2 C naught sin m pi by A into X sin n pi by B into Y cos of, you can see it over here, please note it is cos of P pi by D into, what will it be? Z. This is the final equation you're going to get for the TM mode. So similar lines you can get it for this mode also. Only difference is when you're going to solve it for TE mode, when you solve it, one J quantity will also come in the equations. I hope you got an idea of the cavity resonators. Thank you. In today's lecture, we will be discussing about re-entrant cavities. Re-entrant cavities play a very vital role in microwave engineering because klystrons, multi-cavity klystron, reflex klystron all use re-entrant cavities. What is so special about these re-entrant cavities? The special thing about re-entrant cavities is that they are known to have a resonant points. Resonant points means they can resonate at infinite number of modes of oscillations. Why they are capable of doing it? Because they are supposed to be a resonant cavities. Now what do you mean by this is that at a resonance, what do you expect? Your inductance and capacitance both should be equal to each other. Omega L is equal to 1 upon omega C. This is what we expect. Now at higher the frequencies, what happens is that to have an inductive and capacitive effect to be both similar is very difficult, because inductance means we normally show it in terms of In a wire, we show in the terms of loops of current, right? As a loop of coil. So a coil is shown as an inductance along with a series resistance. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Meaning, if I show this as an inductance, two wires, these are separated by some potential that is shown as a capacitance. Whereas the inductance is always shown as what? As a series connection. So it is normally shown here. Am I right? You remember transmission line? So we always take a coaxial line that way. So if when I am trying to tell you that we are trying to achieve an resonance between the two, what will you try to do? You will try to have a balance between the two. How? You either increase the value of inductance, decrease the value of capacitance to have a balance, or you decrease the value of inductance and increase the value of capacitance. Decrease the value of inductance when you say, that means the wire is becoming as thin as possible. Thinner the wires. That becomes very difficult actually. So what we are trying to do is that to have a resonance, we do not have a derivation for that as such. It's an empirical type of formula. We are using a coaxial transmission line inductance over here, and we are going to extend them to the inner boundaries. When I'm saying extend them means I'm going to extend them to inner boundaries. Can you see these diagrams being drawn over here? These are some toroidal cavity. This is a toroidal cavity. This is like this is a coaxial cavity. This is a radial. Radial means half. A radial cavity. This is called as tunable cavity. This is toroidal cavity. This is a butterfly cavity. The speciality about all these diagrams is that the wires are all extended and tried to be tuned inside, tried to be bounded inside, so that we are trying to have a you can say balance between the inductance and the capacitance. The best thing is that remarkable resistive losses have been reduced completely because uh, we are trying to reduce the inductance. So the inductance is always followed by an internal resistance. So that value also becomes less. To find out the formula for finding the resonant frequencies, we are going to use the empirical formulas as I told you before. The first formula over here I have written, this formula is Z0. This is for a characteristic impedance of a cavity, for a coaxial cavity. That is 1 upon 2 pi square root of mu by epsilon natural log of B by A. Now, this is what I told you, a coaxial cavity. Two pieces have been taken. They have been stretched. Can you see? Two pieces have been taken and they are folded inwards. Extend the boundaries, that is, they have been bonded inwards like this. Over inwards. So you have getting what? Two sets of inductance. Two set of inductance you are going to get being separated by, a capacitive type of impedances. Your Zin will be. Now, what type of coaxial wires have you used? A short-circuited coaxial wires. According to transmission line equation, if you give a short circuit to a transmission line, the formula becomes J. Do you recollect this? It becomes J Z0 tan beta L. I'm using two set of impedances over here. Zin becomes equal to J. This Z0 value from the earlier slide, you know what it is. They have just substituted over here tan beta L. Inductance of the cavity, you have two sets of inductance over here, upper half, lower half, 2 Zn upon omega. They've just substituted and tried to get the value of L. Similarly, C, you know, it's always given as epsilon pi a square by d. When I try to equate both the equations, because I hope you know, at resonance, inductive of the two shorted coaxial lines in series is equal to the magnitude of capacitive reactance of the gap, because omega naught L is equal to 1, I hope you know, omega naught L is equal to 1 upon omega naught C. So I'm trying to find the resonance. When they solved, they got the equation in terms of tan beta L is equal to this equation. Now the speciality about this equation is that being a tan function means it supports infinite number of modes, meaning your reentrant cavity is capable of creating many modes of oscillation, which is a great boon for us at microwave frequency. That's all for reentrant cavities. In further lectures about microwave tubes using two cavity klystron, reflex klystron, reentrant cavities will be continuously used for creating various modes of oscillations.